Hey guys. Okay. So, as I was just saying, we wanted to record tonight because I know some of you are teachers and you're busy and you wanted to know if we had another team call this week so you could catch up. So we thought it'd be easier if we just recorded it for y'all. So tonight is actually, Lee and I are going to do the call together. This was her idea, and so she kind of came to me and was like, hey, I found this information in a book, and I think it'd be really good for our team call. So we talked about it, and we decided we would do this together. So if you have not got this book, Rock Your Network Marketing Business by Sarah Robbins, I would highly suggest that you do so. It's actually one of the prizes for one of our team contests this month. So if you don't want to buy it, you can do the contest and get it for free. So if you haven't read this book, it is amazing. It's the first network marketing book that I ever read. And I had no idea what I was getting myself into when I started it. And I finished this book in like 2 days, literally, like laid out in the sun, summer, was a teacher, and read all day. And it was so good. And I highlighted and I have sticky notes and I have all kinds of stuff all over it when I was done. So it's a great, great book. But the one section that we're going to talk to y'all about tonight is actually in chapter 4. So if you do have the book, if you want to look for it, it says facts tell and stories sell, which was the topic that I put on our little graphic. So basically we're going to talk about how when you're sharing your journey, if you're always just sharing facts about Plexus, that's just telling people about your product. That's really not going to get you anybody to jump on board. That's not going to hit the emotional side of what Plexus offers. And honestly, people are just going to keep scrolling on by, or they're going to glaze over when you're talking and they're not going to listen. So we're going to talk about how when you tell a story, like a story about your life, a story about the products, how they're changing it, that's when people are going to start jumping on board. That's when you're going to actually see people joining as ambassadors, or you're going to make those customer sales, because people are going to buy into your story, into you, a whole lot faster than they buy into the actual products. So Lee and I are going to go through the 5 tips that Sarah Robbins was sharing in her book about how to tell your story. And I loved these. Like, this was such a good reminder for me. I actually wrote them down in my desk today, just to like remind myself daily if I'm like, okay, what am I going to share about Plexus today? I have no idea. Like, I'm out of ideas, blah, blah, blah. These 5 tips are so good for you to go back and look at. So if you don't have a pen and paper, grab one, or you can watch this later and write them down. But I'm going to pass it over to Lee, and she's going to start with number 1.
Okay, so just like Haley was saying, this is the perfect way to share your story without sounding salesy. If you are sharing about Plexus on Facebook, or if you're openly taking your Plexus products in front of somebody, then there's going to be a time when somebody asks you about Plexus, or said, like today I was in the workroom and one of my coworkers, who's now has been my Facebook friend, she was like, hey, I think I might be interested in Plexus soon. Okay, perfect window for me to say, that's awesome, and just go ahead and share my story. So when you're doing this, there are 5 simple steps, and when you think about the steps, that doesn't mean your story is going to be forever long. That you could really have a sentence per step. And I'm going to talk you through, when I share mine, like what I would say for that particular thing. And Haley can probably fill in her own thing too. And then afterwards, you can probably create your own little snippet of a story, or your own Plexus story, so that you can kind of get into the habit of sharing it briefly and to the point, but with an impact. So step 1 of sharing your story is to share the history or challenge that you had before you started your products, or before you started with whatever your business is, with Plexus and things like that. So for me, when I start out telling people about when I start with my story, I always pretty much start with, I had horrible stomach issues. I was, taking Pepto-Bismol and Imodium AD like it was candy. It was an addiction. I had anxiety because of it, and this, and this. So I can share my little backstory of what I was dealing with before Plexus to kind of introduce it. Go for it, Haley.
Okay. So same thing, like I would share, the history. Most of y'all know I have really bad acid reflux and I had no immune system. And so I talk about really more of like the emotional side of that. Like not just, oh, I had acid reflux. Like, no, like my stomach burned. Like when I laid down to sleep, I felt like my throat was on fire. People who have that know what that means, and that really connects with them. So same thing with, like she said, with number one, when you do share, make sure you're hitting that emotional side of not just, oh, I had this, this, and this. Like, really explain it. Okay, so step number two says share how you were introduced to the products or the service. And so when I first read this, I was like, nobody really cares about that. But then the more I thought about it, I was like, well, actually, they probably do. Because this is where you can tell them, well, I was a skeptic, because let's be honest, we all were, right? So you can make that connection with them that you were in the same spot that they were. I saw my friend Allie post on Facebook about Plexus, and I was super skeptical, so I watched her post and share for a little bit before I reached out. That's what I did, okay? That connects with a lot of people. When you go back to the place before you started and start sharing that with them, that's where they are at. So they're going to understand, oh, okay, so she didn't know if these would work for her. She was a little skeptical too. She just saw a friend posting about it. Like she wanted to know more. And so it really has that connection with them of where they're at. So that's step number two. Lee, do you have anything to add there?
No, I like where you went with that because, like you said, they may not want to know how you're introduced to Plexus, but it relates to them because just like you watch somebody's journey, they're watching your journey, and just how you were introduced by your coworker or your friend or your Facebook friend, whatever, that's how they are. So it kind of relates to them, and they can kind of see like, oh, I was just like her.
Yeah. Sorry, I don't want to interrupt you, but I wanted one more thing before we go to number three. This step right here, number two, that I just said about sharing how you were introduced is super important for the people who've been around for a long time. Like Lee and I've been doing Plexus for a really long time, so it's been a while since we were in the new person's shoes. I mean, I've been doing Plexus, like the actual products, for 3 years now. So it's been 3 years since I was the person asking questions or wanting to know more. And so I feel like really taking yourself back to that spot and being aware of how you felt really puts you into perspective when you're talking to somebody about how they feel. Because we kind of get in that mindset of like, well, Plexus works. What do you mean you don't? And like, how do you not understand? Well, take yourself back 3 years or however long you've been there. So this one's really, really good for those of us who have been around for a while. So, okay, go ahead, Lee.
So for number three, the third step of your little story, your Plexus story, it says to share what product you started on. So that one's really simple. Just think about, okay, well, what are the products that I started out on? Most likely if you're an ambassador, then you're probably still taking that same combo of products. So it shouldn't be, anything that's difficult to remember. But I mean, for me personally, I would say, so after, so-and-so got me, interested in Plexus, or I got set up on products, I started on the triplex combo. Now, here's something that I think is really important. When we get the opportunity to talk about products, it kind of ends up becoming like word vomit. Okay. So I personally, this is not the time to share what those products each individually do, because that would take, you want your story to be like a 30-second speech, pretty much. Like that's it. You don't want it to be like a 30-minute discussion. Oh, well, then I started Accelerator, and then I started X Factor, and this is what Boost does. And then I started Block, like, blah, blah, blah. We could go on, and that's great. I'm so glad you're passionate about these products. I am too. But there's a time and a place once you get into the discussion of their health goals. So this is where you strictly, I would say, I started out on the triplex combo, which really focused on regulating my blood sugars. It gave me some natural energy, and it helped my gut health issues. Track it back to whatever your initial struggle was that got you interested in Plexus. So my biggest victory and thing is my stomach issues and gut health. As soon as I heard gut health, I didn't even know what it was about, but I knew, okay, maybe that could help. So I heard gut health. Actually, my upline got me interested and signed me up. I started with the triplex combo, and it was going to help with this. So I'm not giving the whole Well, Slim has chromium and it now has prebiotics. And the Probio 5, and given the whole fish tank analogy kind of thing, we want to and we can. There will be a time. But this, I'm simply saying I started on the triplex combo, which contains this, this, and this, and they kind of do this, this, and this. Or not kind of, they do. Or you can say my main goal was weight loss, and I started on Slim, Accelerator, and Block, and this is kind of what they do in a nutshell, okay? Remember, you kind of want each step to be like a one-sentence thing. So step 3, I started on these products, and this is kind of what they do. You don't want to get into the whole green side of things with explaining in detail. That's my perspective, my point of view on that.
No, I definitely agree. And I think that this one is really important because if you have tried a lot of our products, which we hope you have, because in order to be a good ambassador, I feel like you need to try all the products so you have a testimony to share with people. So if you are sharing on Facebook, you're probably sharing all of the products that you've tried. And so when someone is following your journey, they're like, oh my goodness, she's tried this and this and this, and they've seen all these products. And so sometimes going back to the basics of like, this is where I started. Like, yeah, I may take all of these now, but I didn't start there because that's overwhelming to people. If I had seen Allie posting about all of these different products and never understood like what she started with, I probably would have never joined because I didn't want to be the one in the very beginning that was taking 8 different things, or whatever. So I think that's really good, just going back to the basics. Yeah, go for it.
Interrupting you too, something came to mind. Later in the chapter, it kind of reminds us about not being salesy, and it can become super salesy once you start being descriptive about all these products. You want to make your story come out first. That's what's going to get people interested, because we're not selling, we're constantly sharing, and what you're sharing hopefully is you. What is going on with you? Just like somebody asks, where'd you get that dress? You share by saying, oh girl, I got it at Old Navy. It was on sale. Like, I give all the fun details. I don't go into details about, well, I tried on this dress and this dress and this dress, and I really like this one because it fit me in the waist, but it was long enough to my knees where I could wear it to school. Like, I don't go into all these details. I'm not trying to, I don't know. That's not really salesy, but I'm not whatever, just shouting out everything about it. I'm quick to the point. Oh, I got this dress. I love that it's floral. Check it out. It matches my Kendra earrings, or whatever. That was me yesterday. That's why I'm only sharing that story. But kind of how you share about your favorite restaurant. Oh, I ordered this. Okay, done. That's it. That's kind of how you want to be with your Plexus story. To the point.
So true. Okay, so those of you writing down, step number 4 is to share the time frame you saw results or the immediate results that you saw. Okay, so this one is kind of where some of you are going to be like, well, I'm still new and I'm not sure if I'm seeing a whole lot of results. Okay, so I want to talk to y'all first. If you are new and you're like, well, I haven't seen a whole lot of results, this is where you can share somebody else's story in your story. Okay, so if you're telling them like, okay, so yeah, I just saw my friend so-and-so sharing about Plexus, and I struggled with this, and this, and blah, 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 and they shared a story with me, and I've seen so many people who have the same thing that I have. All of a sudden, these are their results. I'm not there yet, but I know I'm going to get there because I've seen so many good results. So this is where you can take, somebody else's story that applies to what you're struggling with and share that if you don't have a story just yet, okay? But I want to urge you, if you have been on the products for at least a couple weeks, you have a story. Whether you think it's important or not, I promise you, no matter what it is, you have a story, and it is important. Because for those of you who are like, oh, well, I kind of sleep a little bit better, that's huge, okay? And the people who, there are going to be people in your life that struggle with sleeping, and that's going to be like paramount to them, okay? So little small victories to you could be huge ones for someone else. So never take any of those small things for granted, okay? So if you do have a story, obviously you want to share your time frame. So for me, my time frame, I didn't really see huge results quickly. I was one that it took a while for me. And I think it's just from honestly how much medication I had put in my system because I was so sick all the time. I had a tore up gut. Like, it was bad. And I took birth control all through college, and so that's not good for you. So my gut was just really bad. So for me personally, my time frame took a little bit. So when I'm telling people my story, I usually tell them, like, I knew going in that it was going to take me a while. In the first month, I did have a little more energy. I did sleep better. But did it fix my acid reflux? Did I have an amazing immune system instantly? No, I didn't. And I think just telling them your time frame really puts in perspective of how these products are natural and everyone's different. And that's super important. You want to make sure that you're conveying through your story that this isn't a quick fix, that this is a long-term, like, life-changing opportunity. So that's what I would say about step 4.
Yeah, I like that. I think it's very important for us to be honest with people.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it seems like lately, for some reason, I've had several people actually ask me, well, how long will it take until I see results? And I'm honest with them. I said, I mean, sometimes people see results really quickly. And whether it's a big thing or, some people can drop 10 pounds in their first week. Like, whoa. Some people can't drop anything in their first week. Some people can't drop anything in their first month or whatever. So like Haley said, you probably do have some small victories. For me, I started because of my stomach issues, but the first thing that I realized, I don't know if it was willpower so that I could let my Plexus products work, or if it was the Plexus products working in my body. I'm going to go with the second one because the Plexus products are working in my body. But I stopped being the teacher that was going to the Coke machine. I mean, I probably spent close to $2 a day getting a soda, a candy bar, a bag of chips, or whatever during planning time. And so I completely stopped. I'm off sodas. So, like, that's a victory that really doesn't even relate to me anymore. But for a whole year and a half, I can say that I haven't drank a soda at all. So that's, something you'd be surprised when you take the time to look back. Like Haley said, the smallest things. Oh, I'm sleeping better. Oh, like, I actually go to the bathroom every day, or I haven't had a stomach ache in a week, those types of things, or a headache in 2 weeks or something. They may come back into your brain. So it's really important to share, and your story will evolve. I don't share too much about those beginning victories because I feel like I've had so many. I've had the motivation to work out. I now have motivation to meal prep and eat healthy for my family. I can now add in the fact of being a mom. I can now continue with my teacher story before Plexus and a teacher on Plexus. I can go into the big scheme of all of my stomach issues healing up. So you can go on, but you can probably pick honestly who you're talking to and what might help them with your story, because they may be the teacher that needs help with their cravings and their sugars. They may be the teacher that needs help to get up and go work out, or not the teacher, the person to go work out, and stuff like that. So, you can always pick something good in your story or share somebody else's until you have something that you feel is worthy of sharing. Step 5 says, so if you're writing this down, step 5 says, share what the best part is. And that's in quotes. So share the greatest results that you're achieving with your products or your service. So this kind of goes in with the time frame. You can say, after a week, I noticed this, but after 3 months, to me, my biggest thing is after, getting my gut health in check, I don't take any stomach medicine anymore, or I don't have to take Tylenol anymore, or I, don't have to take off from work because I'm sick every other week or whatever. That is a big victory. Whatever your story is or whatever you're proud of, that's what I would say. Whatever you're most proud of, that you want to share about your health goals. And something else, once you start along, if you're actively working in the business, something else that I think that you can add in there, we definitely want to go with the health goal first. No doubt. You want this to be your health testimony. Otherwise, Plexus products are focusing on your health. But this is also, for me personally, a time where I can also say not only this for my health, but my family and my finances are forever changed. I can add in that tidbit about the business because my health is changing. It's been there. A year and a half on the products, my health is like, okay, I feel great every day. But now what's happening is my bank account is growing. and the lives that I'm changing and the friendships I'm making. So you can even share your passion with that. Now, again, you don't want to get on a giant soapbox, because I could talk for hours about my friends and the blessings and the support and the love and the financial blessings and the health blessings, everything. But you want to keep it, concise and to the point. And if you haven't discovered what your best part is, or what's your biggest achievement, then share what you hope to achieve. So far, after a month, I lost 5 pounds, but I'm working for a goal of 50 pounds. You can share how long it took you to reach the small goal and what you're still working or hoping to achieve. That's always something. I like this last part because it leaves people with a little bit of motivation, kind of thing. It shows them the success that you've had, but it also shows the belief that you have in where you're going, which I really think is so powerful to share.
Yeah, I totally agree. I definitely agree with what she said about sticking with like the health like hook at the end, like definitely ending it with how like the best results for your health. But if you are doing this as a business, that's the perfect opportunity to just put that in just a tiny bit, because that will become a huge part of your story. And if you're not sharing that, then you're not allowing somebody else to know that, and you're not giving them the opportunity to have the same blessings that you are. So I love that ending. Just to like wrap it up for y'all, and then I'll quit our recording and see if y'all have questions. But basically, the outline that we gave you, the 1 through 5 steps, is meant, like we said earlier, each one was like a 1-sentence kind of thing. And so it's supposed to be a quick, like 30-second, here's how you can tell your story to someone that's like, hey, what is Plexus? Or what is Plexus helping you with? So that should give you kind of an outline of how to learn how to, or I guess train yourself on how to answer that quickly and efficiently. But on the other side, when I first read these steps, I wasn't thinking on how to answer it quickly. I was thinking, how could I use this to share my story every single day? So yes, you could probably go on and on about each one of these steps like Lee and I were, like in detail. And that's where your posting is going to come in. Pick one of these numbers and think, okay, so today I'm going to share what products I started on. And I'm going to go into detail about that for my Plexus post. So, this is going to help you share quickly, but also share lots of details long term on Facebook or in person. So I just really liked how it could apply to both. But anyhow, I think it's a great outline. I would highly suggest you using this to kind of come up with your elevator speech, as you'll hear Plexus refer to it as. Your elevator speech is kind of like what you could say in an elevator ride with somebody. So that's quick, fast, and this would be a great outline for y'all. So, Lee, do you have anything else to add?
I do. I have two things. Something that I think is great is, or what I challenge you to do, is to maybe write out your own, and just so you can see it and you can think, okay, this is my step 1, this is my sentence for step 2, and that way it just becomes a habit. You're just, you're not memorizing it, but it's your life, and you have it there, you have it planned, so when the opportunity does come up, it's there. A lot of times when we cold contacting, we're asking people if they want to hear what we have to say. We're asking them permission to share. We're asking them permission, can I share my friends' testimonies with you through happy hour or through this opportunity event? Or, can I send you a video? You can enter a contest if you watch it, kind of thing. We're asking them for permission to share with them. And if they say yes, there's your opportunity. Boom. Here's what I have to say about Plexus. What you think? Kind of thing. I mean, I don't want you to say what you think at the end, but that's what I think is really, really cool about this, because it's already preparing you for when you're having discussions either in person or in cold contacting or whatever. And the second thing is, as Haley was saying, this is a great thing to have for like in your pocket for Plexus posts and to plan things out. But what I think is also so important, and I don't want to get sidetracked by this, but what I think is so important is to remember that you also need to make sure that you're staying compliant with your posting. So you may want to share all the ins and outs, which is great. You can do that. Make a video and send it privately. Voice message, send it privately. Face-to-face at work, you can tell them then. But if you're openly posting it on Facebook, you want to make sure that you are careful and compliant about what you what you have and what it's helped you with, what your health concerns were, what you struggled with, and what all it's helped you with, because we don't want you to go against some client and then have your post taken down and this, that, and the other. So that's just something to keep in mind. But you can always share your story with interest, and then when people come to you asking, that's your perfect window to share all the ins and outs. And if you have any questions about, well, is this compliant? Is that compliant? Can I share this? Can I just go ahead and ask your upline or, your teammate or whoever, because they'll be, Haley can answer for us. I could answer. The more you're in Plexus, the more you realize what you can and can't share. So that's always something very important to keep in mind.
Yes, love that. So I'm going to close us with kind of a challenge. All of you on here, and then those of you watching later, I would like for you, like Lee said, to go ahead and write it out. And I want y'all to share in our little group thread. And the reason being is I think it's important for all of us to know each other's stories, because then we can call on each other when we have a potential who is going to connect with someone. If I have somebody who's having a lot of anxiety, stomach issues, I know that I can go to Lee and they will connect with her. So I think that's really important. And I also think it would be good for, all of us to look and make sure that it is compliant. So we can check it for you and make sure it is something that you can share. So 5 steps, come up with your quick little story and share in our group thread, and we will go through and look at that together. And if you're not in our group thread, shoot your upline a message, or you can shoot me a message and I'll add you to it. So, okay, I'm not going to hang up, but I am going to stop recording. So those of you who are on later, we will see y'all sometime, hopefully next week. And I don't know what our topic's going to be, but hopefully we will see y'all next week.